Having a balance is what makes it fun. I think that's what you have to be healthy about it. But also doing things you enjoy, and I think that's also what I try to do in college. Is it can't be basketball all the time. I do that obviously plenty, and that's super important to me. And I love my routine of getting my workouts in and getting them done. But also having that balance of finding things you enjoy outside of basketball, and that balance is just huge, especially for me. Find things that are fulfilling, especially when days are hard at basketball. You have to be able to turn to something else and rely on that. Whether you're in season or whether you're out of season, it can be, kind of long and exhausting. So finding things, whether it's, making a meal, cooking, baking, playing golf, traveling, whatever it is, find other things that you're passionate about and really enjoy that.
All about balance. Well, like you said, you're in Chiefs red. As my older brother always says, we call it the annual Chiefs Invitational because it is the week of the Super Bowl. But we've had a deep love for the Chiefs ever since you were a child. Where did that come from?
So I have some family in Kansas City, and we would always come down here. We would try to make one Chiefs game a year growing up, and usually it would be really fun. We'd tailgate. I get to be with all my cousins, and I grew up in Des Moines, so Kansas City Chiefs were the closest NFL team to where I grew up. So that's kind of who we rooted for. Is 2 hours and 45 minutes from our house. So we always tried to make an annual trip down here and go to a game, even when the Chiefs weren't as good as they are now. So I'm not a bandwagon fan or anything, and my dad was a big Chiefs fan. He's a big Royals fan too. So you kind of just adopt that and cheer for what your parents cheered for. But obviously it's turned out pretty well. It's fun being in the Super Bowl every year.
We're the villains, as they all like to say.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Chiefs, I think you and I share a lot of things in common with a lot of the ladies here. We're Taylor Swift fans.
Oh yeah. That's right.
How was that feeling of being with her in the suite?
It was really fun. Well, I was trying to make it to a Chiefs game all year, but it's hard to get your schedules to line up and make it all work. And then when the playoff schedule came out, I was like, gotta go. I don't know if there's gonna be another opportunity. So it was really fun. And Taylor's obviously amazing. And I think just the coolest thing about her, I think her ability to bring people together and find joy in something. If you've ever been to a Taylor Swift concert, it's I don't know, it takes away everything that's going on in the real world. You're in this arena having fun, and you don't know all these people here, but you feel like you're friends, and that's just what makes it a good time. And obviously she's just a very kind, caring person. You can really feel that. And sometimes you don't always remember we're real humans too and real people, and it's good to have that perspective as well.
As someone who also went to Taylor Swift shows, I agree.
Yeah.
It's a little vacation.
I know, I wish she was still on tour. I'd still be going to the shows. It never gets old, honestly. Yeah.
So let's go back 10 years ago, of course, when you were a two-sport athlete. For anyone who doesn't know, Caitlyn also played soccer in addition to basketball. But we saw an article describing how you scored a goal from midfield on the opening kickoff at the start of the match. Some have speculated that you also played soccer. How would you describe your skill level in soccer, and what was that tough choice when you decided to focus solely on basketball?
Yeah, soccer was the first sport I ever played. That's kind of the sport everybody kind of puts their kid in. It's just go run around on the grass field for a couple hours and get your energy out. But I wasn't like that. I was no, we're scoring, we're winning. And there's home video of my parents pass, stop drilling the ball and shooting every time. Same with basketball, come on, pass the ball. But no, I love soccer ever since I was a young kid. Grew up playing with the boys, and then eventually started playing with girls. I played throughout high school until I think my junior year. I ended up giving it up just because it was in Iowa. It's a spring sport, and that's when AAU basketball was. So it was really hard for me to find the balance of both, and it was really a tough decision because I probably could have played college soccer, and it was really one of my first loves. And maybe even in middle school, I maybe thought I was going to do soccer in college instead of basketball, and eventually it kind of just worked itself out, and I kind of just found my way, and basketball was the answer. But it allows you different friends. I love being outside. I also think understanding angles and reading your teammates and things like that, I think has certainly helped me as a basketball player and as a point guard. And then you had to run a lot, so that was always what made me in really good shape. So that's something I really appreciated about soccer. But I'm still a really big soccer fan. I try to watch as much as I can, and I do miss it, but basketball turned out okay, so we'll let it slide, I guess.
I would think so, yeah. Speaking of basketball, you obviously you scored from midfield.
Yeah.
Obviously translates to the fact that you know how to drill a three-point shot. So how did you perfect that shooting throughout the years, and what was the consistency or the techniques that you used to be able to hit so deep?
Yeah, well, growing up, my dad was my first basketball coach, and it was like all about the fundamentals. And I would tag around with my older brother and kind of just want to do whatever he did. And I would get mad because my dad wouldn't like let me shoot like threes and like just show up at the gym and like just like bend all the way over and just like chuck shots. Like I always had to have really good form. And as a kid, you get really mad, and even kids now, like I'll see like young kids like running on the courts after and shooting, and clearly they watch Steph Curry or whoever, and they're just like chucking threes up, and it just looks really bad, and I'm like, oh no, your form's gonna be messed up. So just really appreciative of my dad, honestly, from a young age. Like the fundamentals of basketball were always important. I think at times that's still like a lost art, whether it's ball handling, whether it's form shooting, or whatever it is. But honestly, I didn't really shoot like logo threes or deep threes until college, and I think that came with the strength and conditioning program that we had, and me just getting stronger and growing into my body. And but eventually those were shots that I was practicing and putting time in, so then you have confidence in them, and it happened in the game, and sometimes they went in and people loved them. So.
And I want to take a little bit back to soccer. So the Current made history by building the first ever training facility purpose-built for women. And we saw the Fever recently broke ground on a training facility, and you all are hosting WNBA All-Star Week this year. How important do you think this investment is for the future of women's sports?
Well, I think it's really important, and obviously it's happening a lot in the NWSL too. Is like, that's not something that's up for negotiations anymore. It's like you must have that if you want a franchise. If you want to be one of the best franchises, you better build one too for your athletes. But also, like, they deserve it, so why wouldn't you build it for them? And I feel very lucky and fortunate to be part of the Fever, who are putting $78 million into a 108,000 square feet training facility. And this other biggest one currently, I think, in the WNBA is 64,000. So it just shows you the type of space that we're going to have, and from mental health spaces to 2 courts to a hair salon to just random things that are going to be absolutely incredible. So I feel very fortunate and lucky, and now that free agency is going on right now, you can really tell, like, that's what players are prioritizing when they're looking at where they want to go, is where are the organizations and the franchises that are really, giving those resources to their players. So I think at this point it's something you have to have, but also, we deserve it and have deserved it for a long time. So I feel very fortunate to be a part of a franchise that, is going to be building one of those, and we have one right now. It's just we're taking it up a notch, so it should be cool.
Oh, sweet! Can't wait to visit.
Yeah.
So, on top of just building a really great facility, there is a lot of topic of WNBA expansion. We have Golden State this year, Toronto next year, but do you think Kansas City hosting a team right here at the T-Mobile Center? You have to ask.
Yeah, I've said Kansas City would be a great spot for a team. I've never actually played in this arena, but it's a great spot, so I would love to play here. I think it would be a cool place to have a game. So yeah, I think Kansas City would be a good city for it. Obviously a great sports town, supports women's sports, and obviously with how the Current have done, I think it is a great example for what can be in the city. Lucky enough, I don't make those decisions. You have to ask Kathy that. I don't review the bids. But yeah, I think it would be a great town for a WNBA team, and I think it'd be cool.
Great. So there is so much excitement. Oh yeah, please. I always let them love the Kansas City. So there's so much excitement surrounding women's sports, as you said, and it's between the ratings, attendance numbers. We're experiencing a major shift in marketing dollars and increased economic support for female athletes. What is it like to navigate this new era where it's such a hot topic?
Yeah, it's been interesting since, probably NIL first went into play when I was in college after my freshman year, and then to see where, not only women's basketball is now, but where women's sports is, and how much it's changed over the course of, just 5 years. And, my first year in college, the NCAA tournament wasn't even allowed to use the March Madness branding. Like, even though people referred to the NCAA tournament on the men's side was March Madness, but on the women's side, it wasn't called March Madness. We weren't allowed to for whatever reason. So that just shows you how far we've come in just 5 years. And even the year before I got to college, they didn't even air a full NCAA tournament game for women's basketball. It was whip-around coverage, so they were just bouncing from game to game, so you couldn't even watch a full game of your favorite team or whatever. So I think it just shows when, you know, we're given an opportunity and we're put on national television, or, you know, people buy a ticket to sit in the arena and watch their favorite teams play. Like, they come back, like they enjoy it, they love the product that's on the floor. And you know, obviously with the Final Four last year, 18 million viewers, and you see that up against like college football numbers or up against like the Masters, like we're right there with them. So it's pretty impressive when you see it compared to some other sporting events that people love and have, you know, adored over the course of many years. And you know, I feel like this is really just the beginning for women's sports. Obviously women's basketball, but it's across the board for, you know, soccer, gymnastics, volleyball, whatever you look at, people really want to invest and enjoy it. So like I said, I think it's just scratching the surface and only going to continue to get better.
And I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And I would honestly be remiss if I didn't mention that, Caitlyn, congratulations. You this past weekend had your jersey retired at Iowa. So let's start it off with that. Yes, congratulations. So I want to change topics a little bit. Earlier today, during the lunch, we learned about the new Win Wellness Initiative, which is focused on addressing mental health for women and girls. You've been very public about the importance of mental health and how that is something that is a focus in your life. When did you begin to put an emphasis on that in your career as an athlete?
Yeah, I think it certainly started in college. That's when I really started, you know, meeting a sports psychologist. You meet with them every week, and then we were also meeting as a team with sports psychologists. And I think it's just something, you know, that's very healthy to have in your life, whether you're going through a struggle, whether it's in your sport, whether it's in life, but also like to talk about all the amazing things that's going on in your life too. Like, it doesn't always have to be a negative thing. And you know, it's hard when you're trying to perform at the highest level while also trying to balance so many other things in your life. But it's something that has become very normal. Like, it's something that should be talked about. It should be, you know, something that you have access to, whether it was in college. We always had a sports psychologist that was traveling with us or was at the arena when we had practice, and it's the same with the Fever. We had the same resources. So I think you're seeing, you know, colleges or now professional teams really invest in that and prioritize that, because, you know, a lot of times the game is much more mental than it is physical, and there's so much you have to balance on a game day, from, you know, screaming fans to what time you're playing, whatever it is, and then also you have to get on the court and perform. So you know, I think it's something that's great, something that, you know, more and more people are taking seriously, and as they should. So something that has become part of my routine, and something that I take to heart and really enjoy doing, whether that's, you know, you're going through something, or whether that's something, you know, you played a really great game and you talk about, well, what went well for you and how can you reciprocate that and things like that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So we have a lot of young ladies in the room who are also active in sports, and you've excelled in high pressure moments. How do you stay calm in those crunch time situations, and what advice would you give to the people in this room?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say, I would say confidence. Like, that's where it comes for me, but it's not like confidence isn't something you just like, you have it, but also it comes from the time that you put in and how much you trust yourself because you worked for that moment, whether it's on the court or whatever you do. I think, you know, as long as you put the time in and you know you're ready and prepared, I think that's what it is for me in crunch time, or really whatever I'm doing. You know, I feel confident in my abilities, and you can just go back to all the nights you spent in the gym or all the workouts you had in the off season and know that you're going to be ready for a moment like that. And I think also reminding yourself, like, it's okay to fail. Like, not every moment has gone how I have planned throughout my career, but a lot of the times you reflect back on things that have happened, and I think the failures are the reasons that I've had a lot of really good success, especially through college, or whether it was my WNBA career. You know, my rookie year wasn't always the greatest, looking back at the beginning, but by the time we got to the end, a few months later, I felt like a completely different person. So I think just like trusting yourself and having confidence and knowing it's okay to fail. Not everything's going to go your way, as long as you learn from it and bounce back.
Great answer. Full circle. So I want to close on this. We talked about current Caitlyn, high school Caitlyn, but I want to take it back to 6-year-old Caitlyn. Could you, at that age, would have dreamt that you'd have this sort of impact on women's basketball?
Oh gosh, no. I like obviously I always dreamed of, you know, getting a scholarship and playing in college and, you know, playing in the WNBA, but like there was never a moment where you could imagine it on this level. Obviously I hope to take it to new heights and have people watching and all of that, but the way, you know, women's sports and women's basketball has taken off is, you know, truly incredible. And like I've said, like this is just the beginning. I think the amount of young talent we have in our game and the way youth sports are, I think, you know, people are getting exposure at a very young age, whether that's good or bad. Sometimes there can be certain takes on that, but I think social media has helped a lot. I think the way, you know, coverage has changed. You know, we're playing on national television, we're playing on ABC, we're playing on ESPN. Those type of networks are really wanting to invest and air women's sports, and I think it's just showing the world, not even our country, but showing the world how great it is and how fun it is to watch women's athletics. And I personally have always been a fan, so, you know, I've always believed it can be very, very successful. But now to see the whole world really buy in and really enjoy it, it just makes me excited about the future and where it's going to continue to grow. And people always ask me like where I think it's going to go in 5 years, and I think it's hard to say because people never could have probably expected it to be where it is right now. So hopefully it just continues to grow and grow and grow, and I'm really lucky to be a part of it.
And we're so excited to watch you. Well, best of luck in your sophomore campaign. Yes. Well, Caitlyn, thank you so much for talking to us today. You got a gift from before you come to work for KC team, so don't leave the stage yet.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.